Welcome to another episode of Money You Should Ask. I'm your host, Bob Wheeler, and in this episode, we're going to explore, question, examine, converse, dig deep, expose, laugh, and cry about the money beliefs, money blocks, and life choices of our next guest. Turn up the volume, listen, learn, and laugh.
Good news, bad news. Bad news first. Growth comes from learning, which is a lifelong endeavor. Good news, growth comes from learning, which is a lifelong endeavor. At the Money Nerve Academy, we hold space to explore, navigate, discover, and heal your relationship with money. With our online course, Mastering the Emotions of Money, you can get in touch with your fears, blocks, and beliefs around money so that you can become more aware of your current financial story. By understanding why you do what you do with your money, you can create a different ending to your financial story than the one currently taking place. Check out themoneynerve.com and start mastering your emotions of money.
I'm excited today because we have an amazing guest from Atlanta, Georgia, Steve Connelly. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you very much. It's fantastic to be here.
Well, Steve has an impressive resume. I could probably spend 45 minutes just going through those, but I'll give you some highlights. Steve was an entrepreneur early in life. Started with his own lawn mowing business when he was 12. At age 16, he was part-time owner in a coin-operated laundry. Excelled at many jobs, got into retail furniture, and became the regional VP manager of a national retail furniture store that eventually went out of business, but that wasn't your fault. In 1987, he entered the real estate investing arena, where his achievements include authoring Guerrilla Real Estate Investing, buying and selling several thousand single-family homes, commercial properties, and multifamily properties, creating, writing, and producing the Real Estate 360 show. In addition to that, he's developed such projects as It's About Belief, which you can find at itsaboutbelief.com, and Brain Energetics. Has authored 50 Belief Ideas 1 and 2 and Stories of Unlimited Possibilities. And I love talking about this, and I hope we get into it. It's about mindset. It's about belief systems, a little bit of the law of attraction. The other thing I want to mention that Steve and his partner, Jason Miles, have developed Real Estate 360 Pro, which is an online resource focusing on real estate investing training. So, Steve, thanks so much for being here. And I should have mentioned you're also an Eagle Scout. So so am I. So there you go. Love that.
Yeah, that's great.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. It's really a pleasure to be here.
So, Steve, did you think when you were 12 years old, you were starting that lawn mowing business, that you were going to be selling real estate and writing books and having an impact?
Of course not. I was just trying to figure out how to hire the kids in the neighborhood. But they didn't. They were smarter than I was. They didn't really want to mow grass for a living at 12, But
well, there's good money in mowing lawns. I grew up in a small town, and everybody had like an acre. So I could make $100 a day. I could only mow 1 yard a day, but because I did it by hand. But
yeah.
Hey, I liked lawn mowing. So
I liked it all right, but looking back, I really didn't. There's certain things I didn't understand, and I was not charging enough money to mow those yards. So I didn't make a lot, but it kept me really busy. Very.
There you go.
What I did learn though was I was a genius at marketing when I was 12.
There you go. And marketing is probably the key, because you can even have a bad product, but if you know how to market it, doesn't matter.
I could definitely market it, and it wasn't that hard. It was like I got my typewriter out. We had typewriters. We didn't have computers back then. I made 3x5 cards, typed up, "Hey, I'm available for any type of yard business. Just give me a call." And I put them in all the mailboxes in the neighborhood, which was a couple hundred houses, and I was busy. Very busy.
It kept you busy. And then what prompted you to go into real estate after you got out of the furniture business?
Well, so I had a furniture store. After you mentioned the chain of furniture stores that I was in that went out of business. Well, So I found this guy in Atlanta. I was in South Carolina at the time, and I found this guy in Atlanta who wanted to open a import Scandinavian furniture store. So he contacted me. And so we ended up doing a little partnership thing. And so I moved to Atlanta to do that. And then we split up, and then I went and opened my own down in Florida. And then the exchange rate went south on us big time because we were importing from Denmark, Southeast Asia, and Germany and stuff. And so we went out of business along with just about every other Scandinavian store in the country. So I found myself, okay, what am I going to do next? So I decided to be a manufacturer's rep because I kind of like driving and stuff. And I did that for about a year, and I really was not successful. And by the way, my resume there, I know you said it's very impressive, but the failures that I could have written would certainly be 4 times the size of the resume. But so a year into that manufacturer repping stint that I did, I said, wait a minute now, if I could do anything I want to do, because I'm not really making any money anyway, right? So that wasn't a challenge. And yes, I had a house and 2 kids and 2 cars and all that stuff. But still, I said, if I could do anything I wanted to, what would it be? And it was, the answer came back immediately. It would be buying and selling houses. It'd be real estate investing, because I just had a fascination with that.
Yeah.
So that's what I did.
So that's what you did. And did you have, when you were growing up, did you have brothers and sisters? And what was that like growing up?
Looking back, it was a fantastic dynamic. My brother was a younger brother. That's all I had. My parents were fantastic parents. I realized later on that they certainly put in a certain amount of programming in my head. And some of that was a little bit disjointed. It was about money, of course. A lot of my mom came from a very wealthy family, and she was like the black sheep. So there was a lot of animosity with her family that kind of rolled into my belief ideas unknowingly. And, it took me a good bit of time and research and digging deep to find what the heck was going on, because, I had a little bit of a roller coaster ride financially over the last, 4 decades, 2 score. And I said, why am I making a lot of money and then going broke, and making a lot of money and going broke? I found out that I was, sabotaging myself from belief ideas that I had, growing up. So.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that, because that was my story as a CPA and making very bad financial choices and having to say, well, geez, the receptionist is buying property and I'm constantly going broke. I need to do some research on myself. And the digging deep into our own personal story, at least for myself, wasn't always fun and wasn't always pleasant. And I don't know if that was true for you.
Well, no, I don't think it's really something any of us want to do. But because, you have to get real and say, wow, look at that. But, when you actually do it, it's not so bad. As a matter of fact, the results are well worth that effort. But, you have to take the effort. And what I did was, I do a lot of meditating. And so I started asking questions. Okay, what's going on here? And what really prompted that was a few years back, I got this message that just showed up in my head. It said, hey, Steve, you have self-worth issues. And I said, immediately I said, no, I don't. And then I stopped and I said, wait a minute. That was a pretty quick denial. So what am I trying to avoid here? In other words,
right.
That denial was like, okay, there must be something here. So I said, all right, what is it? So I was meditating, and bam, a list popped up in my head. Well, you made these goals and you had a time limit, and here they are, and you didn't do it. So you're a failure.
Right.
And I said, wow, that is nonsense,
Right. Right.
But I see, I see where it came from, and, recognizing it and seeing it is really all you have to do. There's not really any more work to do after that. You've done the work. I've done the work when I said, okay, what is it? So I brought it into the light. And so when you bring things like that into the light, they disappear because it's shadow. It's just a shadow belief. And those beliefs cannot survive in the light. They just disappear.
They do. Absolutely. And I encourage the people that I work with to just get really curious about those voices, those under voices that are trying to creep out and take us down. And if we can then say, wow, isn't that interesting?
Yes.
These negative thoughts keep coming up. Let's have a conversation and really, again, like you said, bring it out of the shadow and into the light so that, we can start to actually, once we get conscious, we can be more intentional.
Precisely. And that's the work. Nothing else really is the work. I don't think it's all between the ears. And a few months later, just to follow up with that, I had the same message come back. I was seeing the reflections that were similar to quote unquote the self-worth issue. And I said, hey, wait a minute. I did this already. I cleared this. And then I heard a very distinctive voice say, well, it's a never ending story, right? I said,
that's right.
Oh, crap. This is not going to end, is it? No.
It's not going to end.
So I did it again. It was just, here's the interesting thing. It was kind of the same thing, but it was a little bit different. The mechanism had tweaked it just a little bit so it could slip it back in. And I said, wow, aren't you a little clever little minx, getting these beliefs back in here like that? Cleared them out again. And and I really haven't had too much of a reoccurrence on it, but that doesn't mean there aren't issues, because there are. It's constant, always. You got to be always on the vigilance and watch those thoughts. I do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we all do. And I joke about that where I also thought, I get to do this once. I've gotten all my money stuff together. And then I got to get a little cocky, and then I got a little slap in the face of, you have to maintain this.
Right.
You have to keep looking at the blind spots. You have to keep going back and saying, what could I have done differently? Where am I taking myself out still, even with my consciousness? And it's a never ending journey. And I think, it's the good news, bad news, because that's such a bummer. And then, that's awesome, because I want to keep learning up until my last breath.
Precisely. And, once you kind of cruise with it, what you just said, though, I want to reiterate a little bit, because certainly we all get prideful, and what comes, right before pride is the fall comes right after the pride, right? So we stump our toe every time we get prideful. So it's helpful to be humble,
Absolutely.
Very humble, and as you said, keep our eyes open all the time, or our loins guarded constantly,
Constantly. And so, in speaking of that, you talked about you could write 4 times the amount of your achievements to your failures. Can you share a story or two of where you look back and went, man, that did not work out so well?
Yeah.
But I learned from it.
Let me think of which one. And by the way, it's the other way around. Is I could write 4 times more failures as opposed to the achievements. But let's see. So last year I was doing some real estate stuff, and I was with a partner, and so got a little cocky, if you will, because things were going pretty good. And so we took over these payments from this guy, and I was kind of relying on my partner, but not paying a lot of attention to myself. I take full responsibility always in every single situation, in every moment, because if I don't, then I'm giving up my ability to respond in situations, and I'm giving away my power. I don't ever want to do that, because I don't want to abdicate my power to anyone else.
Right.
So, because it's responsibility. What's my ability to respond in these situations? If I give it away, I don't have any. So,
right.
So I let let my guard down on that, didn't pay attention to it. And so we took over some payments. We borrowed a bunch of money to do that with. And then the lender foreclosed on it because we didn't transfer and we didn't communicate well, and we lost a ton of money.
Wow.
So to say that, that's not something you'd get up on stage and talk about while you're trying to sell a great marketing and real estate investing program. But
right.
It's important, to acknowledge, because without those mistakes, then you're not aware of them, so you don't make them again, or less likely to make them again. I'm not saying, I haven't made the same mistake more than once, because I have.
Right.
And I always say, and then, other people will say, if you're not making any mistakes, then you're not learning anything.
Absolutely.
If everything's going well, there's nothing to learn. You know it all. I'll just say that I've learned a lot.
Lots of lessons. I like to think of mistakes as lessons.
That's right.
Right. And hopefully I learned from them, so that I don't look at them as, wow, I failed, I'm a failure. It just tells me next time,
right,
pay more attention to the details, or read the contract, or put money in the bank, whatever it might be that I sort of slacked off on or got a little cocky in my, my ability to think that I make no mistakes.
So I'm just moving a lot slower now, and more deliberate, I guess is a better word, and making sure that those I's are dotted.
And when you got into understanding that it was about beliefs, and you wrote it's about belief, what prompted you to start to get into that and want to share that with people?
I've always been a little bit curious about the way things operated, and I'm really fascinated with the physics of it all, and also how can I make it work for me? That's what ultimately all of us want, because we're built as selfish individuals. We want to feel good, and we don't want to feel bad, right?
Right.
So I was reading some pretty incredible books when I was 9 years old. I was reading self-hypnosis and how to increase your ESP. And my favorite was Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. Mm-hmm. Now I was reading those just because they happened to be on the bookshelf in the house. That's what mom and dad were reading, and those sort of things. So with that in mind, I was kind of raised Southern atheist.
Okay.
And
not Southern, which is very different from Southern Baptist.
Exactly. And that was the reason. That was the juxtaposition I was going for, as a matter of fact. So I kind of had an open mind. I didn't have a whole lot of dogma, put in here. Mm-hmm. So, but I just noticed things that just didn't make sense to me, and I would see that people didn't seem to have much long-term memory when it came to events and in politics and just things that happen. I was wondering about that, and I was wondering about why it was that certain things didn't seem to have a relationship with other things, even though they should have.
Right.
And then every now and then I would do something that was weird. I was looking in my living room, and I was looking at the bookcase, and I just saw this light. I was at that time I was 12, I guess, and I just saw this light over there, like a glowing white light, and there was no light bulb or anything there. It was just a light.
Right.
So I was saying, "Hey, Dad, what's this light thing over there?" And he said, "I don't know." So I didn't really know or understand anything about that.
Yeah.
And then I was in college, and I was doing some really deep hatha yoga for 30 days, and the instructions out of this book. It was a book. I just read it. And I was just doing those for like 45 minutes to an hour every day. And it said, do these hatha yoga exercises every day. Don't miss a day. So I didn't. I missed one day out of 30. And then at about 30 days, I was sitting and I was meditating, and then I felt this tension in my body, one muscle. And I said, is it okay? In my mind, I said, is it okay to let go of that? And the answer came back, well, yeah, sure, let go of that. So I let go of that, and it just, I think it was the last little bit of tension that was in my body kind of hanging on. Because that's what yoga does. It really just pulls the tension out of your muscles and out of your tensions and out of your mind, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. So
I was sitting there meditating after doing that, and a profound peace of mind just came into my mind. It was like, wow. You just couldn't describe it.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And so I said, wow, this is amazing. I was just sitting there enjoying that. And about a minute or two into that, I started dropping off into nothingness. It was like, where am I going? I was disappearing. That scared the hell out of me, So I started kind of grabbing at the material objects in the room, and I was trying to pull myself back into the physical plane. Again, no understanding of any of this stuff. I was just I was just exercising,
Right.
But my mind was blank. It was like, wow. So that was very scary. And I pulled myself out of that abyss, if you will. And then for the next quite a few months, luckily I had the lower bunk in my dorm room. This was at the University of Georgia when I was there. And so I had to sleep with one foot on the floor because the room was spinning for months. And I actually had a couple of seizures from that. Wow. It was a mess. And I dropped out for about a quarter just to get my physicality back. And so I've often wondered, where would I have gone if I just let that go, I'm not sure how I got off into all that, but that's the evolution. And then I remember you asked me, how did I get into this? So years later, I saw the video, The Secret, that pulled me back up again. I started digging into that. And then thank God for the internet.
It's awesome.
Man. And so It's About Belief came from it really came from The Secret, and then just studying what I could, and Abraham Hicks, and then Cryon, and Bashar was kind of like the first one that I really started going after it on the internet, and then Neville Goddard, and anything and everything. So hopefully that answered that question.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I just want to reiterate to people that are listening, books are an amazing resource, or reading is an amazing resource because you can read on the internet. We weren't allowed to watch TV when I was a kid, and I read. All I did was read books. And I was fortunate or privileged in that we had a library. And my parents were voracious readers. And so that's what I did. I read. And I think, like, to your point of being able to read all this stuff and have the information, then you can decide if you want to take it in or not. But there's so much information that even somebody that has limited resources, if they have access to reading or internet, the world is at their fingertip.
That's right. And just a short thing about religion. I think religion's fantastic. I actually have I joined Self-Realization Fellowship. It's kind of it kind of recognizes all religions, and anything can be a path, to becoming self-realized, and that's the goal of everyone on the planet, whether they know it or not, is to wake up and see what reality really is not, is maybe a better way to describe that.
Absolutely. Well, let me ask you this random question, because I was thinking back to when you were saying we all want to survive and we all want to enjoy things.
Yes.
And right. And we want to have the pleasures. What is one of your guilty pleasures that no matter what the cost or no matter the situation, it's like, that is a guilty pleasure that I just really enjoy?
That is a great question. And, I ask a lot of people, what do they do for fun? And hardly anybody can answer that question. But what I love to just get out and explore, travel, if you will. And it does, I don't have to go to Europe, although I've been several times. But, even just getting in the car and driving around and looking. So I did that yesterday. I went up to look at some $1 million houses up in on Lake Lanier near the mountains here in North Georgia. So I drove for a couple of hours up that way and back. And that's very rewarding, because if we really understand the law of attraction and how this works is, if you have 5 areas of your life, maybe health, career, money, relationships, and extracurricular activities, pick 5, it doesn't matter. And 4 of those are going great, and one of them is going bad. Say the money thing is going bad, for example. Most people want to focus on the money and try to fix it. Got to focus my attention on this thing that's going bad. Well, that will not work. As a matter of fact, that'll only make this worse, because whatever you focus on gets bigger. So the best thing to do is focus on one of these other 4 things. For me, it'd be getting in the car and just driving up to look at these nice houses and forget about that area that's not working. Because if you get your mind right and you get your vibration right, then this will fix itself automatically. And that's the amazing thing. So you have to really develop a level of trust. So to answer your question, I love that. I love motorcycles. I love anything that has a motor on it, in it, that can propel me forward. I love to fly. I'm a pilot. Just things like that. I love to read. Last night I like to learn as much as I possibly can. So I've been learning Spanish over the last few weeks. Last night I saw some stuff on 3-phase electricity and learning about that, and free energy devices. And that's kind of one of my things, is I'd like to be the Elon Musk of free energy devices in my world. So, which is bringing those to the planet.
That sounds awesome. And I have to commend you that you fly, that you're a pilot. I have a couple friends that do that, and it sounds exciting to me, but I'm actually scared of the idea of being up in the sky and not having a safety net if the engine goes out. And so that's a real fear. I mean, I guess it's a real possibility, but something that I haven't gotten past.
Yes, and if you fear it, then don't do it, because when it comes right down to it, and I would say this about the coronavirus too, if you don't mind me making mention there. So there is a virus, but it's not what people think. It's not the coronavirus. The virus that's being spread around right now is fear.
Right.
Fear is the virus. And as one politician said way back when, he said, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. So I would say fear not. And you cannot get the virus if you do not fear it or you pay no attention to it, because you're not on the same frequency as the virus. So there's nothing to fear.
Well, that sounds awesome, because fear not, right? Fear not.
Fear not. That's right.
Fear not. What I know you touched on being the Elon Musk of your industry. What other legacy do you want to leave? What do you want your impact to be in your time here?
Well, like I said, I just love the law of attraction, and I think that's a misnomer. It's really, yes, we're attracting things certainly, but it's more. The way I look at it is more frequency alignment. So whatever it is you are, or whatever it is you're emitting on a frequency basis through your thoughts, what it is you think about shows up out in front of you. That's it. And the biggest leap that anyone can make is understanding that I'm not alone. You're not alone. We're not alone in this. And that our physicality is just a small fragment of who we actually are. we are much, much bigger and broader and more powerful vibrationally, and what we can't see. But all of that is benevolent and helping us at every single turn. And we have to, if we could just give up the control on that, then we would be so much better off. And I have a little story that happened to me last Friday, if we've got some time.
Yeah.
So, I utilize as much of the law of attraction as I possibly can to do my real estate investing. Mm-hmm. So I got this house down in Savannah that I had all the funding lined up for it from one of my guys last week. This was just last week. And so he said, yeah, I'll fund that. And then last Friday, he said, no, I can't fund that, but I can roll over what we have in this other property. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, I had that set. This was Friday. Last Friday, I had that set to close on Monday. I said, well, this is rather inconvenient. It would have been nice to have known about this
right
sometime before that. So I said, all right, I can respond in a couple different ways. My responsibility is coming into play here. I can freak out and, get all angry and pissed off about it and say, what the hell am I going to do now? Now what? It's too late, that kind of thing. Or I could just say, I could sit back and say, wow, this is interesting. I wonder what great opportunities this is going to lead to. And that was the choice I made right then and there was, okay, I need to just relax and say, this is an opportunity because there's nothing bad. There's only one creator. It's all good. I'm part of the system. So where's the opportunity here? And that's what I found. And that's what Napoleon Hill says is he says, out of every challenge, there's an equal or greater opportunity. So I said, all right, my job to find out where that is. So the first thought I had in my head was call the seller and tell him. So I said, all right, I called the seller. And by the way, in this transaction, I know the seller. I've known him for 20 years. I know my lender. I've known him for a couple of years. We've done quite a few deals together. The lender, the guy that kind of backed out on me, he's a little squirrely. So, okay, I can deal with that. And then I just so happens I know the lender on the property that the guy I'm buying it from, I know him because we did a transaction, 15 years ago. And then I've had some experience with the law firm down in Savannah. I just got down to Savannah recently. And so we closed the deal down there. And so it's kind of like everybody knows each other,
Yeah.
So my seller said, well, why don't you call the lender that has this amount of money on there and see if he'll just let you borrow it, continue to borrow it. So I called him. I said, I don't think my timing is right. So I just had that feeling, and I pay a lot of attention to the feelings. I said, I think I'll wait till tomorrow and call him, which was a Saturday. I'm supposed to close on Friday.
Right.
But so I called him on Saturday. I didn't get him. I left him a pretty lengthy voicemail. He called me back, and he said, yeah. He said, I just want to make sure that I remain in my first position and I'm good to go. And I said, okay, what are your terms? He said the same as before, same as what I had with so-and-so. I said, great. Okay. So now all I need now is another $38,000,
right,
by Monday. So, but my other guy said, hey, I'll roll that in. And I knew I was going to be closing that property pretty quick. So it just so happens that as a matter of fact, I found out yesterday that I didn't close on Monday. I told everybody, I said, hey, we're not closing on Monday, but we're closing really soon. And everybody said, okay, fine. So I'm closing that first property where my lender had his money, where he said, I'll leave it in, like I said. So it all came together really yesterday. We got a clear to close on that first property, and we're doing that on Monday in Savannah. So I'll be going down to Savannah and closing both at the same time. But the whole point of that was trust.
Right.
So I had to trust that this was going to work. And I had to trust that all the resources were just going to show up for me like they always have in the past, unless I block them.
Right.
So that was...
Yeah, you could have spent a whole lot of energy getting worked up and probably pushing everything back, or actually helping doom the deal.
Exactly.
And so yeah, that piece about trust and taking it slow and trusting your feelings. They actually have some information that's pretty useful.
They really do. And I had an investor that was wiring $15,000 for some marketing that we're doing, and I gave her my account numbers, and I had this feeling in my gut that said, check those account numbers. You know what? I didn't. I saw it, I heard it, and I didn't do it.
Yeah.
She wrote the account number down wrong, and so the wire came back, cost $125 in fees, and I said, well, that's what you get for not listening.
That's
to your gut.
That's right. Pay attention. Get conscious.
Yes, sir.
Well, Steve, I could probably sit here and talk for another few hours, and I'd love to hear more stories. Where can people find you on social media?
Well, probably the simplest way and the quickest way is just go to my website. It's aboutbelief.com. I write daily belief ideas. So whatever I'm kind of experiencing, I just kind of write it into a belief idea that might be helpful, like the trust or revision is the one I wrote today, as a matter of fact. It was about how to change, ideas and beliefs about your past, and bring those new scenes and new experiences that you've created in your past into now. But so they're free. I don't charge anything. I do it for me, and if you like it, great. Subscribe. If you don't, unsubscribe. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
And
that's awesome.
So those you can sign up on the website. You just scroll down until you see the subscribe box, and you just subscribe. It's on MailChimp, so it's they monitor everything, so it's really easy to just subscribe, and it's really easy to unsubscribe. So
that sounds awesome, and I would encourage all of our listeners to go check out the website, get some free resource, and also learn about real estate and learn about your belief systems. I think that would be awesome. Yeah, so check it out. We'll post all that information on our website. And I want to say to our listeners, please don't forget to share the love. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Search for Money You Should Ask, all one word. You can subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify, or your favorite podcast player. And I think we have Amazon now. If you prefer to watch our episodes, head over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel. Steve, it has just been a pleasure having you on. I appreciate your insight and your wisdom, and I hope that all of our listeners out there will continue to get curious and find things interesting and place a bit of trust in things and let go of fear.
It's been all fun for me, and let's do it again.
Sounds good.